they're easy to target, right? It's not a complex thing typically, right? It's usually the same thing that I see over and over again that we have to deal with. But if we're not also working with the gut, if we're not also tying all that other stuff in, then you don't really get to the final result and things aren't moving forward really, really well. Hey there, welcome to the Female Health Solution podcast, where we discuss women's health, hormones, and everything else in between. Join me as we dive into the tools that you need to live your healthiest life. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Female Health Solution podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Beth Westy. We are going to get into and talk about fertility today, but it's going to be a little different. I want to talk about male fertility. So I wanted to talk about one of the trends that I've been seeing more on a Dutch test. Now, I don't talk a lot about male hormones because I really do focus on women's health, women's hormones, things like that. But when you are really trying to conceive and you're focusing on fertility and feel like I've been doing all these things for myself, I've been tracking my cycle, I've worked on this, I've done a Dutch test, I know my hormones are better. How do I optimize fertility for the both of us, right? Excellent question. And this is one of the number one things that women ask me because they're like, okay, I feel like I'm more complicated and I have all these other things going on, but how do I make sure that my partner has all the best things, right? And for men, I always say it's pretty simple and you can improve his fertility. It just happens faster, right? Because men don't go through the same hormonal cycle throughout the month that women go through. So the changes that you make are really positive and beneficial. And for men, it's more about taking away versus adding in. And this is just basic, this is just general, this is just, right? Nothing specific. I'll talk about specifics and trends that I've been seeing on a Dutch test for men. When I do Dutch testing for couples, that's really, a lot of the times I primarily focus on women and women's health and hormones. But whenever I do male testing, it's really oftentimes connected with a couple that they're trying to conceive and make sure that nothing's out of the ordinary. I want to have the best going into this. And I really want to make sure that I'm covering my bases and that things look really good for the both of us. Perfect. Right. Because your egg is 50% of it. His sperm is the other 50% of it, right? Makes sense. So when we look at basic things men can do to improve their overall male fertility, it's look at taking things away first, not just adding, oh, this supplement's supposed to boost fertility or whatever. Again, our bodies are designed to function really well, and we want to remove any obstacles that would get in the way of that. So any endocrine disruptors, right? There's a friend of mine who she was kind of concerned or thinking, gosh, I feel like I should have gotten pregnant right now. She's like, I know my hormones are, really good. I know this and this is going well for me. What's the deal? And I was like, well, have you looked at endocrine disruptors? And she's like, oh, I don't use any of that stuff. My makeup, the cleaning products, blah, 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 all that stuff, everything in the home, etc. Well, her husband travels for work. So he travels kind of during the week, sometimes taking a flight, but oftentimes in the car, sometimes doing an overnight, a sales job that he has a certain region that he's in. So he would spend a lot of time in his car. He used a lot of car fresheners. He used a lot of body sprays, right? A lot of smelly things, endocrine disruptors constantly, right? So I was like, yeah, change that immediately. She went right in his car and threw everything out. I'm not saying do that, but but it's one of those things that it makes a big difference, right? For men to just in their environment where they spend most of their time, remove toxic chemicals. Look at what they're using, right? Their deodorant, their whatever, right? I mean, my husband, God bless him, uses a bar soap, right? Just doesn't. So I make sure he has a non-toxic bar of soap. Like he doesn't use shampoo, right? So it's important to remove all these things. Go through their products, the few products that they use, and make sure that they're non-toxic and that they don't have harmful chemicals or endocrine disruptors in them. And then from there, it's really important to just make sure men have a lot of protein, animal-based protein. Like, think of caveman. Think caveman stuff. They should eat meat and lift heavy things and be active. And honestly, things that boost testosterone also boost their other neurotransmitters, their serotonin, their dopamine, that type of thing, right? Like, so they should play games, have fun, ride bikes, hang out with their buddies, go bowling, whatever that is, watch sports games. That actually, I just spit when I said that. Watch sports games. Those things actually boost their testosterone. Studies have shown that that boosts testosterone. Men watching football games boost their testosterone, right? If your guy is not into, football, totally fine. If it's playing D&D, great, right? Whatever piques their interest, makes them happy, all that stuff. And human bodies thrive best on a really good routine. So again, I hate to say it like this, but think of it like, and I say this to women too, not just men, but think of them like your body's a toddler. You want to go to bed at a good hour, get good sleep, wake up at the same time, have a good routine, wake up, get protein in, get movement in, and do good things throughout the day and have some fun. It is amazing at how fast the male body can positively respond to that. I had another gal I worked with, her husband, I'll say it like this. His stuff, she was like, I don't know if this is normal, but it seems to be a weird consistency, da 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 da, all these things. He was drinking energy drinks, Monster energy drinks, all these other things, um, you know, toxic chemicals, all that stuff. And part of this too, if somebody works in an environment where they're around, chemicals, things like that. My husband's a brick mason, so sometimes he's around, like they have to wash the brick after they, do tuck pointing or things like that. It's chemicals that they use. You have to be really careful, and they have to take caution with being exposed to that. Anyway, so this guy, he worked a job where he was around, like think of a mechanic shop, right? Lots of chemicals, oils, things like that. And I was like, well, he should be wearing gloves, protective gear, all that stuff all the time. She's like, yeah, he could probably be better about that, etc. I was like, well, it's really important. Your skin absorbs a lot of these things. And so she removed some of the, negative things. She was like, I'm going to pack your lunch. You're not going to get gas station food. You're going to get these cleaner energy drinks using bubblers instead of monsters, just, she's like, you can have the caffeine, but a lesser amount, and it's going to be a cleaner product and everything else. And she goes, literally within 6 weeks, his output, right? That the consistency of it changed. And she was like, this is totally different. It's totally different. And it was a few weeks after that she got pregnant. Yeah. Isn't that incredible? It makes such a difference, right? So these are some of the basic things to look at. And sometimes, again, when we do a consult, when we go through these things, and we'll go through a Dutch report, going through hormone reports, things like that with someone, like it's both, it's the couple, they're going through it. The wife always wants to hear what the husband needs to shift and change because she's the helper with applying it, of course, naturally. So there is that. But one of the things and one of the benefits about working with couples with fertility is this, is that we get to dive into everything and nothing gets missed. One of the more common things, right? So that all the things that I just talked about, all the things that I just said, those are the basic things to start with. So if you've already done that, that's fantastic. If you haven't, start there. Start there. Start diving into those basic, consistent things that I just rattled off and see what changes happen. If there aren't changes, or if you've already done that, or if you're like, something else is still missing here. This is where testing comes into play, especially for men, right? For men and women, right? For the couple to both get Dutch testing and to also deep dive into other things. The most common things that I've been seeing for male fertility issues on a Dutch test and a gut test because part of the reason their hormones are messed up is because their gut is messed up, right? They've ignored gut issues. I have seen parasites, candida, horrible bad bacteria, H. pylori in the gut. And they're like, yeah, oh, my stomach always kind of feels like that. And they just keep going, right? They keep going with their day, thinking that being bloated and uncomfortable and stuff is normal. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Seriously. Sorry, I'm yelling. But that's one of the big things. And your gut has to function well in order for these hormones to get cleared out. Because the other common thing that I see on a Dutch test for men is elevated estrogens, low testosterone, and cortisol issues. Those are the three things I see again and again and again and again whenever we do a male Dutch test. So they're easy to target, right? It's not a complex thing typically, right? It's usually the same thing that I see over and over again that we have to deal with. But if we're not also working with the gut, if we're not also tying all that other stuff in, then you don't really get to the final result and things aren't moving forward really, really well. And for men to have the right testosterone, it changes everything. It changes their energy, their libido, their muscle, their body composition, all of it. It's the main hormone for the male body. So that's why I am such an advocate for going through and doing the right testing. So if you have struggled with fertility, if you have been looking at this, if you have done all this work and you're like, I've tried to make these changes, I've done a lot of these really good things, what's the next step? It's really for you and your partner, get Dutch testing, get gut testing, dive into this so you're not missing a single thing. That way, you have the knowledge and the entire blueprint for everything. Otherwise, more time is just going to go by with you wondering is this the right thing? Did I miss something? Is this going to happen now? And I'm not sure, right? Have the numbers. Numbers don't lie. Labs don't lie. They can't hide anything. So once we know, we can make a difference. So that's what I got for you guys today. Please let me know if you have any questions. And if when you're looking for the next step, of course, go in the links, click that link right there. It'll lead you to learn more about how to get this testing, what it does. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out. Sometimes it can be very nerve-wracking to dive into this stuff because it's so different, right? And it can be, why didn't my other person did this? Or, my regular doctor ran a lab and they said I was just fine, but I don't feel fine. If you don't feel fine or if you feel something is off, take a deeper look, right? The labs that they run, right, at your regular, MD's office, they're not bad. They're looking for something big, bad, and scary, right? Whereas as a functional practitioner, we are looking for optimal levels. We want your function to be the best. And especially when it comes to fertility, we want to give you the best fighting chance. That's looking at all the right labs, making the right recommendations, and getting your body functioning the way that it should. So, thank you for being here. And of course, I will see you next time. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. If you would like more information, just head on over to drbethwesty.com for all the show notes and information from today's episode. And if you're looking for more community, more support, you can find and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and I would love to see you there.